Hello and welcome to this Mother Circle preview event. I'm Sarah Newberry and I am a certified Mother Circle facilitator in St. Louis, Missouri. I'm also a barefoot massage therapist and an instructor and someone who specializes in using my feet to massage along with pregnancy and postpartum support. And I'm here today to introduce you to a course that I found to be so transformational. It's something that I feel is really necessary for mothers and for people who are going through big life events to be able to see themselves through the event and also return to themselves when the event becomes big and overwhelming, and you kind of get lost in the mix of everything. Um, so thank you for being here. Thank you for checking this out. Um, I've got a couple of notes, but I also just want to be in this space with you and invite you to ponder and wonder along with me. Okay. So Mother Circle is the witnessing of this unseen arc through an 8-week, carefully curated series of reflections, connections, and somatic movements. This is developed by the author of The Fourth Trimester and Call of the Wild, Kimberly Ann Johnson, which I also host a book club for, the Call of the Wild, twice a year. When we go through the book club, it's also in the same tone of Mother Circle, but it's more for understanding the nervous system, the female nervous system, through the experience of being a woman. We open each circle, each Mother Circle, with our mother line, and I welcome you to follow along with me. And even just this, speaking it out into the universe can be a very powerful, sometimes activating thing for people to do. So I just want to remind you to take care and feel into what feels right. So I'm going to say the mother line, and then I invite you to say it out loud if you are in a space where that feels comfortable. So I am Sarah, daughter of Judith, granddaughter of Matilda and Helen, and great-granddaughter of Francis and Cecilia. And I'm the mother of Izzy, Julian, Malcolm, Juniper, and Malia. Just saying that sometimes can call forth the people who came before us. And some people have questions about who to include in that mother line. And I would just say to include the people who've mothered you as well. So who have you been mothered by, and who are you spending time mothering currently? Add those people in. It doesn't have to be some major thing that leaves you feeling drenched. Just be with what feels right now. Another thing that we like to do within each circle is we check in via sensations. So I find sensation language to be a bit more, it just feels a bit more grounding because we can connect with the sensation in our body rather than going into the story of the emotion. So some examples of sensation would be things like clammy, dizzy, buzzy, airy, tingly, grounded, heavy, full, itchy, jumpy, pulsing, queasy, ragged, and raw. There's a lot of them on this list, and you can also look on the internet for a whole list of sensation language. I have found this to be really powerful in a way to connect with myself, that doesn't involve uh, falling into a pit of emotions, whatever that may be. So just to take a minute here, and after reading that mother line and saying it out loud, I'm feeling very um, disconnected with myself because I just recently had an injury. Hold on 1 second. We have a part joining it. Hi, Erica. When you get to
I'll go crying baby here.
oh, that's okay. We welcome crying babies. It's okay. Okay. So Erica, if at any time you want to come off of mute to participate in, feel free to. Also, I just want to let you know that this is being recorded, which I'm sure that you heard whenever you came in. There's no one else here right now, so I'm just kind of doing this for the recording. But I welcome you absolutely to come in and participate whenever it feels right for you, okay? Um, so we were just talking about, it's funny because I was talking to myself, but we were just discussing the mother line incantation, and then we were talking about sensation language and how sensation language is different than a check-in that you maybe get from other places where we start to talk about emotions, maybe where you are, and we can get into some story. So I was just connecting with myself to see how I feel sensationally speaking. And I was saying that I feel a wee bit disconnected from my body and my heart because of the injury that I recently had, which Erica was a part of and witnessed. I sprained my ankle the other day. It's not broken, but I definitely have some time to be off my feet. But I also know, because I'm very connected to my body normally, that some parts of my body had to go disconnected so that I could kind of cope with not only the physical piece of it, but also the emotional piece. Okay. So we can go into that story, but instead I want to kind of stay focused on the sensation of just feeling disconnected and being really okay with being disconnected. Okay. So if you can think of, if you can take a moment and connect with yourself and your mind, your heart, your body, and you had a feeling of a sensation, a physical sensation. If you want to share, you can write it in the chat. Some of the other sensations that could be included in sensation language would be something like knotted, pulsing, dizzy, um, strong, suffocating, tingly, fluttery. These are all sensations that really root us into like our body's feelings, what our body is actually feeling. All right. And if we have a hard time with sensations, we can really check into like temperature. What feels hot or cold? What part of your body feels hot or cold? Is there a place in your body that feels heavy or light? All right. As we begin to move into the small circle version that we are creating here today, I would invite you to take a look around your space and just look far out and then look up close. So maybe you can see the walls and the ceiling, or if you're outside, see the trees or the grass. You could start to notice the various textures that are around your space, and just seeing outside of the little box that is the computer. And then whenever you're ready, you can come back to the screen and you can be with us here. So as I listen to the mothers I work with and the friends around me, it seems that most of us are waking up to the real understanding that many of the systems in place are not supporting our families. We could talk about that at length, right? Is that, from small things to what does postpartum support look like, which is actually a big thing, but or to how we talk about maternal leave and family leave at work. Um, But what we do know is that many of the systems are not really supporting families. Um, so I've been a mother for a while, but I still am a new mother, if that makes sense. Um, but there's a lot of challenges that have surprised me, things that I hadn't expected. I longed for being a mother for most of my life. So when I became a mother, there was some parts to being a mother that really shocked me, and that really I figured that innately I would know how to handle some of these things that came up, and it surprised me whenever that wisdom just wasn't there. So when I started to really struggle with some things, I started to ask myself, where does one get this wisdom? Um, and then there's other parts of mothering that came easy that I didn't expect. You know, I always thought that sleeping was so important and that I wasn't going to be able to survive without sleep. And I realized very quickly with my first child that sleep didn't seem to be that important anymore. And I actually could function quite well without sleep. Not that it's not important because it's very important, but it surprised me that it came easy. Something that became challenging, that surprised me was that I have a kiddo that is just difficult and he's angry all the time. And I thought surely I would have all the capacity and all the space and just all the ever never ending love to give to him and it would all make sense. And that's the wisdom on how to support him has not always shown up whenever I thought that it would. So if anybody here wants to share some things that may be challenging, that was surprising, or things that came easier, you're welcome to. But I also uh, know that you might not want to share, and that's okay too. Um, I'll just give you a minute in case you want to. But if you got a baby crying, that's okay too.
I don't know that I can think of anything that has been particularly easy or particularly hard. I think I'm just sort of right in the middle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're kind of fresh too. Like,
Quite.
yeah, there's I think and again, like I still feel like a new mother. I've said this thing a lot recently where I have four children. Currently they're 10, 7, 4, and 2. And I feel like the more children I have, the less I know. The less I know for sure. So I feel like a new mother in the ways that we perceive new to be normally. But it's humbling every day. It's humbling every day. Um, Through Mother Circle, we create inner resources, and not that inner resource where we continue to do it all or more energy to keep going. Instead, we know how to ask for what we need and when, and how to recognize what our bones already know. Because, like I said, I always thought that I would have the wisdom, like the wisdom would appear whenever I needed to handle something. And I found out really quickly that wasn't always the case. Let's see here. Yeah, change the view. So we begin to cultivate the knowing that is inside of us when we struggle with which decision to make. Sometimes I struggle from moment to moment. Should I let my kid play more Roblox or does he need to have some computer space? Um, and when the pressures and the like internal what do I want to say, like the bombardment of life come in, um it's not always easy for me to access that moment, that split decision moment of like this is what he needs or this is what I need. It's harder to hear that whenever there's a lot of input, right? There's also bigger questions like how do I talk to my kids about relationships and what is safety and gender and all kinds of these big things. It's really challenging to talk about, or it's really challenging to know how to talk about it at times. Not always. Like, how do we know what our family stands for? They start to ask these questions, and I love the questions, but there are times whenever it's hard to know what is the age appropriate answer here. How much do they need to know, or how little do they need to know? You know, um, in Mother Circle, we ask and contemplate big questions and follow it up with access to your own wisdom through your body. So, if you have any thoughts along the way, feel free to share. One of the things, I have a bunch of papers here, or like laminated signs. So one of the things that we first talk about in Mother Circle is called the rite of passage and the cycles. So we know that a birth is a rite of passage, right? We know that when a young woman bleeds, it's a rite of passage. And we all have these things that we move through in life. Maybe it's a new job, maybe it's the passing of a family member, some kind of thing that moves us from one stage of life to another. But something that, here we go, hopefully you can kind of see that. There's 3 stages to a rite of passage. There's the separation, the transition, and the integration. Okay. So we all know that when a birth happens, we bring life into the world normally. But what we forget to really give a lot of weight to and energy is the separation stage, or the death of something. So through the separation, usually that could be seen in this context as the pregnancy. It's the separation or the death of the maiden version of yourself. It's who you were before you had children. Then there's the transition phase, right? Where now you're moving into, I was not a mother, into a mother. And there happens to be usually this big physical piece to it. Either there's like a labor and delivery or a cesarean or some kind of big physical thing that happened that's actually giving the transition. We're moving from one stage to the next stage. There's that apex life event. And then there's the integration, where we're incorporating and bringing back the jewels to your community. So that's like a whole concept that we talk about within the circle of what are these gifts that we then bring back to our community and why this is important. But this is what the Mother Circle actually facilitates, is the seeing the gifts that you as a mother have then brought forth to share with others. So sometimes that looks very much on the surface like, well, I had this baby and, now I have this experience of what it was like to deliver a child, and now I can share that with other mothers who have not given birth yet. But there's so much more to what that integration period is. Your community actually wants to hear from you. Because it's not only for you, the birth. It's actually for everyone. It's for everyone to experience through you. Now, we could probably go around and talk about our postpartum period. And, my youngest is 2.5, and I still feel like I am postpartum. And there are some people who say and believe that postpartum is for the rest of your life. There's never like a time when postpartum ends. It's just various expressions of that. um, and I feel that very much. And there's different stages of that to where I feel that it's worthy of bringing those gifts to the other mothers that I know. So my experience is not just for me, my experience is for everyone. Because the more that we can share that experience, the more we see each other in each other, if that makes sense. Um, if you've ever heard that sentiment, like get your body back after having a child, um, I'm here to say that you won't. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, and that's because we haven't acknowledged the rite of passage. Because you can recover and you can sometimes even feel better after having a baby. I've heard that, I've seen that, I've experienced that myself um, at times. But there will never be the same. You will never be the not mother. And I think it really does us a disservice by saying or assuming that you will. You may not have the same interests that you had before. I really struggled with that. I was really into a lot of different things. I had children, and those things didn't interest me in the same way that they did before. And yet I felt this pressure to like return. And when I went through Mother Circle and I realized some of these things, I was really able to set those things down and be good with it. Now I'm content that I'm not as interested in those things as I was before. And I think that we all have like various stories like that. It doesn't have to be that exact same story, but there's different things that take precedent, take importance, take our energy that maybe didn't in the same way. So with that, I also want to introduce another concept that we talk about in Mother Circle, which is the maiden mother virgin crone. Now um, this expression of the archetypes really blew my mind, and I'm going to tell you why. So you might have heard of like maiden mother crone. That's like a very common archetype. Like you might see images of like three women, like a young woman, and then like like a normal, like a middle-aged woman, I guess, and then like this older gray-haired crone lady. And it's kind of goes in circles of witchy places or whatever, but it's that trifecta idea that like we go through each of those stages. So, as women, we know about cycles. We know that every 28 days we're expected to bleed, and through those 28 days, we have this kind of up and down of like maybe emotions, maybe physical sensations, maybe just like our energy is different. Maybe we need different kind of sleep, more sleep, less sleep. All those things are possible within the cycle, right? So the archetype of maiden mother virgin crone is just a way of like expression of where you are in your journey. There's not one that is better or not better. There is not one that is the place to be. There's gifts in every of the stages, okay? Um, so I want to explain. This was what it what whenever I understood this, this is the image that came to me. Okay. So the maiden is the naive one. She's the girl, the young girl that's like full of possibility and dreams and hopes and maybe just like a little too accepting of every love. And she's walking like bebopping along and she sees this mountain and she's ready to climb the mountain. Okay. She's like, I got this. I'm young at heart. I can run up this mountain and everything's gonna be fine. Okay. P.S. The mountain is like life, okay? So as we go up the mountain, right? Walking up the mountain is the stage of the mother. This is the hard work. This is the um not always knowing if you're going to make it up the mountain, not always knowing if you're going to get through it. It's the giving of yourself to a bigger mission. Like, I'm going to exhaust my lungs to climb this mountain so that I can get to the top. All right. So then we move into the virgin. Now, the virgin, we oftentimes have this idea that the virgin is the maiden, the virgin is the untouched. But in this context, the virgin actually represents the untouched forest. She actually she has given herself to the cause. She's given herself to the mountain or to the child, the children, whatever. And she's now at the top of the mountain and she sees the fruits of her labor and she is ready to accept the challenge of, or it's not accept the challenge, it's more like she has made it to the top. She can now see all the angles and she's this untouched forest where like she has the strength within her because she's seen what she has done and created. I hope that makes sense. So she can actually look back on the mountain and she can see the motherhood journey that has uh, has happened. She's seen her version as the maiden and the naive one, and all of the gifts that come with that. And now she's at the top of the mountain and she's feeling that juiciness, you know, she feels that like conquering feeling, like she's got this and she has her whole life ahead of her. She has all kinds of possibility because now she has all of the confidence and the wisdom that the previous lifetime has given her. Okay. And then as we move into the crone, this is how I see the crone. The crone is the woman at the middle of the bottom, or even down at the bottom, with her hand up, reaching up toward the Virgin, saying, "I've got you, and now you can come down." And the crone is the woman with, she's on the other side of all of that, right? She's on the side that can the see kind of everything from all the positions, but she can also have that like grounded security in like, I've already been there and done that, and I'm here to welcome you with open arms. I'm thinking like lovely grandmother energy, you know, that's just very welcoming. She's going to pull you in. She's probably really soft and squishy, and I'm gonna love being hugged by her. Okay. That's like crone energy. And if you find yourself a good crone woman in your life, it's really worth keeping her around. She's the one that will be your biggest supporter, your biggest cheerleader, and she's also going to be the one that's soft enough to let you make your own mistakes and still love you regardless. Okay. So through this, you may have found yourself um, in a certain phase. You may be seeing yourself in a certain phase, and you may be seeing yourself, I'm not in that phase yet, but I can't wait to be there. And just knowing that there's so much richness in every piece. Moving through these archetypes in the mother circle, that in the way that we do, it's not just this lecture type thing. It's was really it really allowed me to see the other parts of me, the maiden versions of myself, and it really allowed me to give so much love to her, to that version of myself, because there wasn't anything bad about her. It was that she was in a certain stage of life, right? So I just think it gave me a lot of compassion for all the other maidens that I see, and all the other mothers that I see, and all the other crones that I see, and all the other virgins I see, you know. And I just think that virgin archetype is such a powerful distinction in this arc of experience, because um, we don't talk about that untouched forest, the confidence that comes with age, with wisdom, with experience, but is different than the crone, because I see a distinction between those archetypes for sure. So as you sit back and reflect on those phases that I shared, you might see yourself in a phase, and you may see yourself in more than one phase, and that's okay too. um, if you care to share what what you resonate with, you can, but also don't feel like you have to. So The couple things that I've shared here this evening are just simply moments of Mother Circle. They're not even the whole thing. Um, we always start with the mother line. We always start with a sensation check-in, and we almost always start with some kind of grounding experience for us to all be connected, both either in person or online. Um, Through the sessions together, we build a container for trust, safety, and vulnerability. We apply stories of archetypes to relate and find ourselves within. We return to the cyclical nature of our bodies. And speaking of bodies, we come home to our physical form and create new relationships with appreciation and nourishment. We play with power and how to find it when we mother. We remember with caution that apex event of birth with such reverence. We reconnect with our sensual, sexual self as we honor who we were and who we've become. It's hard for me to read my own handwriting. We parse through our relationships beyond mothering into our other contributions, and we name our mother code. We haven't even talked about mother code, but it's mother code is the space to which you mother from in an easily and accessible way to find that code when times are hard and tough. Here's what Mother Circle is not. Mother Circle is not a trauma pit. It's not a venting circle, and it's not a social club. We will not allow any kind of bashing of other mothers, of course not, or our partners. Um, we're not going to revel in the terribleness. We're actually going to celebrate the beauty. And we're going to also be real with the hard parts too. And I believe that friendships will be forged and support will just appear naturally. Mother Circle is exclusive to mothers because that's how we create safety. So, to kind of close up, I will also welcome any questions that you may have, but I also want to invite you to our next Mother Circle. I was going back and forth between offering a live version or a virtual circle, and this came up the last time I hosted a circle, so I just decided to do it this way. And I am going to be offering both congruently. So there is, I don't know if I can share. No, I can't, but I mean, everyone on here I can contact, but there are dates for each, the virtual and the live version available. And you can choose which one. I just ask that you choose one and you don't cross, because this is how we create safety, right? Because when we create safety by showing up every week, and I also want to acknowledge the challenge in that. You know, as someone who has 4 kids, I totally understand the whole challenge of childcare. Um, and just some more information about me. I live in St. Louis, Missouri with my partner and my 4 kids. And we don't live really near family. So I don't have a lot of support from um, family ties, but it also means that I have to spend a lot of money in childcare, or I have to navigate my life in such a way that things happen when the childcare is available. So that all to be said, I just want to totally give all the love to finding childcare. And we really want to only have like nursling lap babies of in circle. And it's because I want you to be able to like wholly and completely focus on yourself and yourself in the circle and the circle around us. So, um, you know, reach out to me if that's a challenge. But I also will I'm gonna hold that boundary, Um, and yeah, so showing up to circle is really important because that's how we create safety and vulnerability with each other. We're recording this. When we do a virtual circle, we'll record it, but we won't share it with anyone. This one here will be shared, but that's because it's mostly me talking. So I just want to invite you to the 8 weeks. Um, Ideally, it would be like once a week, but I know that my fall schedule is a little rocky, so it's not every week. There's a week and then maybe a week in between. So it will stretch out, but that's great because then it really gives you time to like integrate and process what we're experiencing in the circle together. Mother Circle is truly for the people who are asking big questions. What is this motherhood and how did I find myself here and what does it mean and how do I do this? How do I do this and still hold tight to my sense of self and who I am? So Mother Circle will really help you anchor into that. Okay. So I just want to open it up if there's any questions here. And if there's not, that's okay. I'll just keep moving. All right. So I'm going to just end with a poem. And this is called The Unfolding Lap. This is by Janine Parvati Baker. I am mother whose entitlement unlocks the doorless room, the home of a mystery that flays the soul's skin, carving ego and rendering the oily mind into light. I am mother who grows dreams in my belly, from my blood drinks the tree of life, rooted in heaven until the birthquake splits me open in revelation and relief, and I awake from the nightmare of separation. I am mother, carrier of the secret told since the beginning, hearth of the future, unfolding lap, volcanic breast, a daughter of uncertainty, the crone's executrix, and the ultimate harvester of hope. I am mother, so hear me. Listen with labyrinth ears to the purpose of sound, sense of movement of your cells, and the pulsing message from your bones that resonate with this. Serve the breath maker and be the birth keeper the earth needs now. Your mother will be so proud. So thank you so much for joining me today for this really quick mini preview of Mother Circle. I hope that you join us this fall. And if you can't make the dates, we'll have another circle in the beginning of next year. And until then.